I'm calling up Meko Whaitieri.
Tēnā koe, Mr Speaker. I ngā memo te wharenei, tēnā tātou katoa. Mr Speaker, I'm happy to take a call on this, the first reading of the Taxation, Business Tax, Exchange of Information, Remedial Matters Bill. And just by observation, Mr Speaker, say that when this bill is introduced, it will no doubt have amendments or impacts on the Income Tax Act 2007, the Tax Administration Act 1994 and the Student Loan Scheme Act 2011. And as previous speakers have made mention in this House, there are three main policy proposals in this bill. Firstly, changes to business taxation to make tax simpler. Two, it implements the G20 OECD standard for automatic exchange of financial account information tax matters, and thirdly, makes changes to implement the disclosure requirements for foreign trusts recommended by the government inquiry into foreign trust disclosure rules. Sir, the aim of the bill is to amend several taxing statutes for various purposes, including to simplify processes, reduce compliance costs for smaller businesses and to tighten foreign trust disclosure rules. Now, Labor stands for a simpler, fair and transparent tax systems in our country, and therefore we are supporting this bill. Sir, the Minister mentioned that included in this bill are what he's termed business-friendly measures, which is about simplifying the provisional tax rules by providing a new pay-as-you-go option for small businesses to pay their provisional taxes by the 1st of April 2018, and that needs to be commended. But, sir, the particular part under this policy in terms of simplifying tax that I want to particularly make mention in my contribution is the removal of the 1% monthly incremental late penalty payment on new GST income tax and the Working for Families tax credit debts from the 1st of April 2017. As we know, sir, many families out there are struggling. The wages don't meet up with the cost of living, and so any removal of penalties, particularly in the family tax credit, must be commended. But, sir, for the time that I have left in this contribution, I wanted to talk about the third proposal or policy proposal in this bill, which is the government, which has come about as a result of the government inquiry into foreign trust disclosure rules. And the previous speaker made mention of a so-called scaremongering. So, sir, I just want to draw the House's attention to the Panama Papers, and that it was the largest data leak in the history of released by journalists back in April. The largest cross-border journalism collaboration ever has uncovered a giant leak of documents from Mossack Fonseca, the global law firm based in Panama. It consisted of more than 11.5 million files. You can't call that scaremongering. 11.5 million files, showing the practices of the wealthy and powerful around the world in their use of tax havens. It was reported that New Zealand, the involvement in the scandal, we were mentioned in 60,000 of those documents. So, sir, I would challenge the member that said that the whole Panama scandal and what it caused this government to do was scaremongering, because clearly that type of leak and our implication as a nation in there definitely challenged our reputation internationally as being one of the many countries that supposedly are a tax haven for those wealthy people. But, sir, when this bill is put to select committee, and of course we would get people delving into and probably examining the aspects of the bill to ensure that we are going to end up with a simpler and transparent and just tax system, particularly for the small businesses, but also, as others have mentioned, the international reputation of our nation, our great nation, that we are not the haven for people to park. And I want to also hope that the Select Committee that is examining this bill and those submitters out there that may be submitting, that we do ask the Select Committee to look at making the registration more publicly available and not just to IRD and the police, so that the scrutiny to ensure that we have a fair and transparent tax system is actually scrutinised by all the public, sir. Like I said, this bill is something that Labour will be supporting, and we will, with no doubt and vigour, look forward to those that submit so that we can make sure it is robust. It meets the intention that both the Minister and the Government has said it will do, that we do have a simple tax system in this country. It is fair, and we clearly repute the slight on our reputation that we are a tax haven, and therefore, Mr. Speaker, I commend this bill to the House.